Wow, it is astounding. That was the spark, as people would say when they look back on this historical event. The cryptocurrency market could be poised to be hit by a tsunami of 12.5 trillion, treble the amount of billions. Not to mention, it's not just a theoretical possibility. The signing of the executive order that allows 90 million American workers to access alternative assets, including cryptocurrency, through their retirement plans, is directly related to this. On top of that shocking news, BlackRock's KKCK might be getting ready to submit an XRPF application. The very BlackRock's KTK that represents the banking elite, I assure you. Last night's stunning news on the XRP versus couldn't have come at a better time. The SEC lawsuit has been formally concluded. No longer will either side be pursuing an appeal. Put my signature on it. After years of uncertainty, XRP is now free of that shroud. Listen, I'm not a financial advisor, but come on. The whole dynamic shifts when the most significant legal doubt that has burdened an asset for a long time is lifted. When regular investors no longer feel threatened, confidence sources, liquidity opens, whales reposition, and opportunities present themselves. What we have here is precisely that. Before we delve further into the potential future events, I want to make one thing clear, because there is a lot more going on than just ETF excitement. Having the proper information, timing, and execution is crucial if you want to double your money in markets like this. Find 100x Stocks, the definitive investor guide to become a billionaire, contains all of that and more. You will view the market differently than most traders thanks to this comprehensive bundle that includes documents, photos, videos, and more. Here is the link. It's in the pinned comment below the video. This is the type of thing that you should have right now, so you won't be sorry a year from now that you didn't. Our attention is returning to XRP and the current situation. The price of XRP has increased by 0.5% since GMT, and it is currently lying at 3.33. An avalanche of buying activity followed the court announcement, but it was unable to overcome technical resistance at the declining trend line from levels of prior highs. Just because the news wasn't big enough didn't mean it was rejected. This is due to the simultaneous occurrence of a deluge of automated orders and liquidation events. While Ethereum had more short liquidations during the last day, XRP nevertheless managed to amass 22 million in that initial hour of chaos. After that, the brief energy of the squeeze became less of an issue. In fact, it's visible in the graphs. Before consolidation, the first surge was all fire. While XRP saw a slowdown, XLM Stellar up 5% since GMT. Why? No-brainer. No. Traders riding the momentum realized the resistance, cashed out, and began to seek opportunities elsewhere. Although the market as a whole has cooled, and this isn't limited to XRP, even Bitcoin retreated, the price of Ethereum fell into the red. The executive order craze died down. But here's the thing, following a news pop, you're guaranteed to experience that cool down. The astute investor knows when the masses are about to unwind, so they wait for these exact moments. You don't need to chase green candles to build positions. Plus, it's Friday, which is what the markets refer to as Freaky Friday when I look at them. Friday has the potential to become a manipulative playground, with Bitcoin ETF options chains enlarged to 250,000. Retailers are left bewildered and caught off guard as major players manipulate prices to close options in their favor. Contrary to popular belief, the market is not going anywhere. This coming week is CPI week. A solid stream of earnings has been flowing in. If tariffs are considered or not, over 80% of reporting companies have surpassed forecasts. As a result, trust in riskier assets like Bitcoin grows. When you add in the fact that XRP is no longer subject to a regulatory chokehold, you have a market that is ready for exponential growth, not just a one-day boom. Let me tell you why. 12.5 trillion is an absolutely mind-boggling amount. There are around 100 million 401k accounts in the United States. On autopilot, billions of dollars go into bond and stock markets every 2 weeks, without a doubt, without reservation. The inclusion of cryptocurrency in those distributions is authorized by the executive order. Figure it out. A new flow of $120 billion would result from allocating 1% to cryptocurrency, $600 billion or 5% of the total. This isn't a one-time purchase either. regardless of the weather or market conditions. Once those allocations are determined, the money will flow in every pay period. Similar to the persistent and unwavering buying pressure that has propelled stock markets upward for many years, but directed towards cryptocurrency instead of equities. At this point, BlackRock CK may intervene. I trust Nate as an analyst, and he has stated categorically that he thinks BlackRock CK is holding on to assets other than Bitcoin and Ethereum until they act on an XRP ETF. BlackRock CK gets down to brass tacks. Products for specialized markets are not something they develop. Their constructions benefit all of humanity. You may recall that they had already dispatched representatives to Ripple gatherings. There's a reason for that. Reasons not to create an XRP-related project are dwindling now that the legal risk has passed. Fidelity is no different. They incorporate cryptocurrency into their pipelines. In this way, in the event that they determine a 5 to 10% allocation is the way to go for retirement investing. ETFs aren't the only ones involved. It was said brilliantly by Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. There has never been a more blockbuster versus Netflix moment in crypto. Due to their intention to do so soon, several businesses are already going blockchain. Some will have no choice but to, as they will have been left behind in the market. Who positions today and who doesn't wake up too late will decide the next 5 to 10 years. That is why I intend to keep a sizable portion of my portfolio invested in cryptocurrency for the foreseeable future. The asymmetric upside is too enticing to ignore. Therefore, I'm prepared to ride out volatility and take measured risks. But I'm not advising you to do the same. An opportunity for a new price discovery phase may present quite quickly if XRP surges past this trend line and surpasses its all-time high, the 360 zone. We're barely 8 to 10% away from it right now. Plus, it's possible for it to happen more quickly than most people think given the correct trigger. Even whales are aware of this. According to CryptoQuant statistics, whale flows had gone negative before the news broke. One clue of a local top is when whales start to disperse. When the matter concluded in court, though, the calculations turned upside down. Lack of clarity leads to uncertainty, and money starts flowing back in when all the doubt is away. Intelligent whales don't wait for news stories to settle before acting. As the majority is still debating its implications, they take action. Because of this, some traders succeed while others fail. The simple profits will be ready for when the fear subsides. As a result of the verdict, whales, which had been on the sidelines, can now join in without fear that the SEC will abruptly change its mind. The market's mentality has undergone a sea change. Now for the exciting part. This is not taking place in a desert. After the tightening cycle of last year, the market as a whole is still recovering. In due time, rates are anticipated to decline. Though stubborn, inflation figures are beginning to level off. This puts risk assets in an ideal position to succeed against a macro backdrop. When you combine the possibility of an XRP ETF launch by the largest asset manager in the world with a multi-trillion-dollar inflow stream from 401k allocations, you get a scenario that doesn't happen very often. That is why I will be keeping a careful eye on the charts as we approach the weekend. With the volume profile indicating strong interest just below 340, we have arrived at a critical technical level. That being the case, any break past resistance might potentially lead to a runaway trend. That is the type of action that institutional investors can't help but cheer when it takes individual investors unawares. Additionally, I want to make sure that you are not one of those spectators who aren't prepared. Look at the pinned comment for 100x stocks. It's in the Ultimate Millionaire Investor Guide. Included in this comprehensive strategy package are documents, images, and videos that demonstrate how to anticipate and capitalize on the next big winners. By the way, if you deposit just $100 via my Moomoo link, you can get free NBDA shares valued up to $1,000. Take advantage of the current opportunity while it lasts, because if you wait even 1 week too long, you could miss out on life-changing gains when the next catalyst strikes, like a BlackRock KK ETF filing, a major 401k provider announcing a crypto allocation, or XRP shattering its all-time high. We need to investigate this subject more thoroughly now, for the reason, because at this particular moment, The focus is squarely on XRP ETFs and the 12.5 trillion retirement account pipeline. Knowing the news isn't enough to make money though. The secret to making it is anticipating the next move before everyone else. Okay, listen up. The conclusion of the SEC versus XRP case is more than simply good news for Ripple supporters. A huge legal precedent has been set. There is now a far more robust justification for every cryptocurrency project that the SEC has threatened with the security label. Additionally, endowments, pension funds, insurance firms, and institutional capital all get the go-ahead to begin allocating when legal risk is reduced generally. Because of this, the discussion surrounding ETFs is crucial. Developing goods for the sake of coolness isn't why big dogs like BlackRock, OKK, and Fidelity do it. They construct items with the intention of selling them. The filing for an XRP ETF by BlackRock KCK would send a message to all the institutional investors in the world that it's safe to touch. Yet, the whale's cunning comes into play at this point. They anticipate a flood of individual investors following the ETF filing. Their job description. Then now, that prices are range-bound and attention is shifting to other assets, they begin to accumulate during the post-news cooldown. They are unconcerned about reaching the precise base. Prior to the stampede, they are concerned about stocking up. The situation is not new to us. Have you forgotten about Bitcoin in the time leading up to the initial ETF approvals, leveling off price movement in a horizontal direction? The moment someone says it's uninteresting, the price goes up and doesn't come back down. This situation can also follow the same script. Now, looking beyond XRP, the 401k allocation executive order has the potential to cause a once-in-a-generation change in the flow of money. Blockchain technologies like Bitcoin and Ethereum will be the pioneers. I can practically assure that. But if past is prologue, when those allocations are set, advisors and fund managers will seek out satellite holdings or assets outside of the top two that could provide greater gain. That's a potential strong suit for XRP. Now, this is where things start to heat up. The utility story of XRP differs significantly from that of other prominent cryptocurrencies. International payments are its strong suit, useful by large banks, inexpensive and quick. This makes it more acceptable to conventional financial institutions. A retirement plan committee is more likely to approve an asset that is actively addressing a real-world problem, rather than one that is merely hypothetical. As of right now, no one has brought up the additional layer to this alternative investment vehicles. As soon as an XRPF is created, related options and futures will follow. Furthermore, the substantial institutional volume is primarily generated by derivatives. The gates of liquidity open at that point. Therefore, this is the sequence you should be looking for. Report-breaking events. While we wait for the water to cool off, whales gather in silence. Retailers rejoice at ETF approval, 401k adoption, catalyst event, and ETF filing. Investment experts in the mainstream begin to suggest allocations, derivatives, a new market, extreme liquidity, more volatility, and higher peaks. You will have missed the asymmetrical profits if your focus is solely on step 3. The remainder of the market will also be experiencing movement as this unfolds. The next halving of Bitcoin is about to happen. The returns on Ethereum stakes are still appealing. AI-related tokens are experiencing a renaissance. This is not an opportunity for any asset. It's a swell in the risk-on wave that might lift the whole industry. Thus, we return to the topic of positioning. You should not worry about making an accurate prediction. All you have to do is arrive early enough with a well-defined strategy. That is the reason for my immense work in creating the definitive guide to becoming a billionaire. Investor. Find 100x stocks. You may view these setups before they become popular with the help of this comprehensive strategy toolbox, which includes documents, photographs, and videos. See the pinned comment for the link. Remember that when you deposit $100 through my Moomoo link, you can still receive free NVDA stock valued up to $1,000. Simply said, the actors will be the ones recounting this event 1 year from today. The hesitators will only be paying attention. It's all about where you stand before the story takes a turn. Keep your wits about you. Get up early and act with conviction. Catch up with you at